Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the video. We're going to continue on numbers 6, 7, and 8 in practicing factoring trinomials that have a leading coefficient. So I want you to go ahead and pause your video to solve 6, 7, and 8, working through the puzzles, and then start the video back up to check your answers. One thing I want you to notice on these is I am having to actually start making a list of my factors because there are more options to try. The numbers tend to be a little bit bigger, and so I have found that if I make a list, it's a little bit easier for me to keep everything straight. So just check and make sure you got everything correct. One thing I want you to notice is we've been working with leading coefficients, but every single one of them have been prime numbers, our 3, our 7, and our 2, meaning the only thing that we can multiply it by is 1. So it's been a very simple process right here to just put the 3 or the 7 or the 2 on top and know that this is going to be the single variable. But now we're going to look at what happens if it's no longer a prime number. So let's look at number 9. So on number 9, we know that we need to get factors of 9 times negative 8 is negative 72. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to make this a lot bigger. Okay, and I'm going to get my factors for 9 times negative 8 is negative 72. So I can just go ahead and start with negative 72 times 1 and negative 1 times 72, negative 36 times 2, negative 2 times 36, negative 3 times 24, negative 24 times 3. Let's see, we've also got 12, negative 12 times 6, negative 6 times 12. And since I know I'm looking for a 6, I know I'm in the right spot when I get to here. So I need a positive 6. I can look and see that these guys will add up and give me a positive 6. So let's go ahead and put them into the problem. So I'm going to put my 12y and my negative 6y. Now, my 9, it could either be 3 times 3 or it could be 1 times 9. And I don't really know what it's going to be. So we're going to use what we were doing last class, yesterday, and we're going to factor a grouping. So we're going to just treat this like 2 area models. The first area model on top, the second area model on bottom. We're going to take out our greatest common factors and see if we can get to the answer that way. So when I have a 9y squared and a 12y, I know that I can take a 3y as my greatest common factor. So with just that one thing, I should be able to figure out the rest of my puzzle. So 3y would have to go here. And if I take my 12y and divide it by 3y, I know that a 4 is going to have to go here. Then I'm just going to look at it and say, okay, well, what do I have to multiply 4 times to get to negative 8? And that's going to be a negative 2. Now let's check and see if my outside matches my inside. So 3y times negative 2 is negative 6y. So everybody matches, so I know I have my answer. So it's more of a puzzle now, which is kind of fun. So my answer is 3y plus 4 and 3y minus 2. Okay, so that's the process. What had happened if I did this and my outside numbers didn't work out? Well, then I would know that I have these in the wrong order. I would switch the order and do it again, just like we did with yesterday's videos when we were experimenting with the order of our numbers. Okay, so I want you to do number 10 and number 11 on your own. So pause your video. You're going to have to work through your factors. Once you've got them completely answered and they work inside and out, then go ahead and start the video up and check your answers. These puzzles definitely take more puzzling and trial and error to get through, but they always feel so good when you get them to work out. The factors of -120, I know there's a lot more. I was just kind of keeping track in my head, looking for the -7. When I got to it, I went ahead and stopped. All right, so let's look on at number 9 and number 10. It's just more practice of the same. So go ahead and pause your video. And I know it says number 9 and number 9. It is really supposed to be number 12 and number 13. So pause your video and do number 12 and number 13, and then check back for the answers. So in number 12, there's a bazillion factors for -300. I started with -30 times 10 because I knew I was trying to get somewhere around 13, or I was trying to get to 13, and they seemed kind of close together. And then I just started narrowing it down from there. So check, make sure you got your answers correct. And then the very last thing with a couple of more 9s, number 14 and number 15, I want you to try and factor these. Notice the heading on this one. Beware, sometimes expressions can't be factored. So you're going to get started and you're going to put them into the puzzles and you're going to run into some trouble. And eventually you're going to come up to the decision if it can or cannot be factored. And one of them, or both, can either be factored or not. But I want you to see how far you can get. Pause your video while you're doing it and then check back for the explanation. So as much as you love to work through puzzles and try and figure things out, sometimes the puzzles can't be solved. And in both 14 and 15, they're called prime. They're prime expressions. They cannot be factored. They can't be solved.